Hello all you damn dirty nerds out there. So I know it's been a while since I made a video. Started a new job, so my life kind of got a little hectic. But I decided to just kind of maybe take the day and just make a series of videos I'm going to post at random. Just try to, flood this channel with videos a little bit. So last night I stopped into a truck stop and I got some dinner and I sat down at a table, and while I was eating I decided to read a story on my Nook. I'd read it before, so it's not like it was anything new. And an older gentleman noticed me, and he made the comment of, "Oh, young people these days are just so addictive to Facebook," and I was like, "No, I'm actually reading right now." And he asked me, why didn't I have a regular book? And I told him honestly, it's like I'm not home often enough to go to the library, and there's not a whole lot of space in my truck, so it's like I have to read ebooks and listen to audiobooks while I drive. And so he said, "Oh, that's understandable." And he asked me a very important question: why do I like to read? Now, I gave him my usual sarcastic answer of, because this world sucks, I prefer to be in this one. And for the most part, that's true. But I decided to really think about it and try to think, seriously, why I like to read so much. And there are two answers I came up with. One, I like the story itself. Like, I like reading about these, people that go on this adventure, or, they're dealing with this problem. And, because I read a lot of sci-fi, because most of what I read is sci-fi fantasy, there's always, like, a magical element to it, or a mystical one, or, just a fantastical one. So it's really just more interesting than, reading about this murder or this, bank robbery, or my girlfriend broke up with me kind of situations. So I like reading stories that are I just like the stories themselves. And another thing I like, especially because sci-fi fantasy, I love the world building. And that's kind of probably what I'm going to talk about most right now. Because the worlds that some of these authors create can be so fascinating. So, a lot of you know about Harry Potter, or at least anyone who's cool knows about Harry Potter. Sorry, Q. And, so, I don't mind Harry Potter. When I was a kid, it seemed cool. This hidden underground world that is, that is shared with this one. But, walk into a certain building and you'll find yourself in this magical world and whatnot. But now, as I got older, it started to kind of not really lose its appeal. It started to kind of not make as much sense, because it's like, okay, what about security cameras? In book 3 of Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, when Harry is on the night bus and they're zipping around, England, basically. I have to ask, do security cameras pick up on it? I know that, it's probably moving too fast for, the naked eye to see or whatever, but it's like, can the camera itself actually pick up with a night bus? And then, of course, what about satellites? Google Earth. You mean to tell me no one's ever zoomed in on a certain part of London and saw, hey, what's this mysterious alley here that has a big white building? I understand, technology doesn't work inside of Hogwarts itself, or at least I'm pretty sure they said that technology doesn't really work. But then it's like, does that mean electronic watches don't work? Because I know Harry had a watch at one point, and it stopped working because he went into the lake with it. But that could have just been, one of those God, I can't. A ticking watch, one of those old-fashioned watches, and so it's like, what, electronic watches don't work, like batteries don't work, you know. And then of course it's like, but what about satellites? It's like satellites should be outside the sphere of influence of magic. Why don't? So it's like, does the magic really reach up all the way out into space? Like, how far up does the magic go? Before technology doesn't work. And you mean to tell me, planes? No plane has ever flown over Hogwarts. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, you'd have to, unless they have like secret government clearance that they never went into. So it's like that doesn't really make sense as an adult. But I'm still okay with it. The whole what's the phrase? They use it for movies all the time, like realm of believability or something like that. But either way, it's like suspension of disbelief. I think that's the term. So yeah, I'm able to kind of be like, oh hey, that's interesting, and I'm able to just kind of shut down. But a lot of these worlds that authors create can be very interesting. A lot of what I read is urban fantasy. So it's our world just with a fantasy element attached to it. And it's really interesting to kind of see this, to read about it, because then it's like, okay, the world is slightly different in very interesting ways. One of the best settings, world building, that I've seen was I'm gonna butcher the first name, Ilona Andrews' Kate Daniels series. That's an absolute phenomenal series, and what's really interesting is that in that world it was just like ours, but way back in time, magic, kind of, not necessarily magic was, everywhere, and people were using it, and eventually, the best way to kind of describe it is like the pendulum on a grandfather clock, the swinging thing on a grandfather clock. And basically what ended up happening was there was so much magic that the pendulum reached its zenith, and then it swung back, and when it reached the other side, magic kind of disappeared and technology started to take hold. And then eventually, I want to say about 20 or so years before the series actually starts, technology reached the point where the pendulum once again swung down, and now the pendulum is kind of like free swinging, and technology, and so basically you'll have periods where magic is up and technology doesn't work, and then when it swings the other way, magic doesn't work but technology does, or at least it's really kind of odd, because magic was still being performed when technology was up, but other than that it was absolutely interesting, and just the consequences of having the magic come back was just really interesting, and it was just a great way for Mrs. Andrews, at least I think she's married, to just kind of be like, not everything with magic is going to be great. There will be consequences, and it's just really interesting just to kind of read that aspect of it. It was a great world building that she did. And another thing is, with that same series, in fact, is that unlike a lot of series that kind of focus on one particular geographical, like, myth or folklore, she kind of just threw them all together, and it was actually very interesting to kind of see all of them kind of interact with each other, and kind of a modern interpretation of it all. So that was just really interesting to read, and it was a really enjoyable series, you know. So that's just something that I really just kind of I really just appreciated when I was reading it, because just the world itself was just so fantastically real. You know, I guess is probably the best way I can phrase it. You know, so, and that's kind of like my biggest reasons as to why I read so much. It's really just, you know, it's not, and it's not that this is a, you know, bad world, you know, per se, but it's just really kind of boring. You know, it's like I would love to be in a world where, you know, obviously I don't want to like. Sometimes I wouldn't want to be. Sometimes I want to be the main character, but for the most part, it's like I would love to be in a world where things are happening that will actually kind of, you know, make me alter my everyday life. You know, make me just kind of have to be like, okay, well, I won't be able to go to work today because, you know, a dragon is attacking downtown. You know, or I would be like, hey, Bryce, we need you to go and, you know, fight and help, you know, the local militia, you know, fight the dragon that's attacking downtown. Or, you know, just things like that, you know. So, it's really just living in a world where, you know, things can happen that, even just, you know, like I said, the idea of a pendulum, you know, switching between magic and technology, it would just be really interesting just kind of for that, because, you know, there was no way to know when magic and tech would switch. You know, it's not like you could set your clock to it. So it was just, and so that right there would just be really interesting to just kind of go through, because then it's like, okay, how am I gonna, you know, change my life to get around this issue? So it would just be really interesting. So those are probably the main reasons why I read. Another reason that I read is trying not to get this glare to keep popping up. Another reason I read so much, in all honesty, is it shuts my brain off. You know, like I can sit there and I can read for hours, and yeah, I'll stop and think a few times, but for the most part, I'm able to just keep reading. It's also kind of why I watch, you know, when I watch TV, it's like I don't watch it for like the pretty colors, or, you know, and sometimes I'll watch it for the storyline, but for the most part, it's just I'm able to shut my brain down, you know, because when my brain wants to, you know, run. Sorry, I keep looking out the window. I'm watching some of these drivers. And realizing that, hey, you're about to hit somebody. But, you know, and some of the biggest issues I have is my brain just doesn't want to shut down sometimes. And so what'll end up happening is if I don't really have something to turn my brain off, or if my brain just refuses to turn off, like I'll start to pace back and forth, you know, and it drives my wife nuts. Like, I try not to do it when she's home, mostly because it really kind of annoys the hell out of her to kind of see that. So I really just kind of try to only do it when I'm alone. But yeah, that'll just happen where I will just pace back and forth, because my brain refuses to shut off. You know, my brain refuses to shut up for, you know, 10 seconds. So, and that's kind of why I like to read. And so it's really just enjoyable for me. I really do wish that the world would read some more, especially Hollywood. Hollywood, please fucking start reading a book, you know, and then maybe you can stop doing all these remakes and reboots. You know, there's millions of books out there. You can make them into a movie or a TV show. And that's probably another video I might just do today. Probably after I'm done recording this, I'll probably just start off on that. Talking about making books and movies into TV shows. So anyway, that was really kind of it. Like I said, I'm kind of just going to do a series of videos today. I can't really drive today, so I'm kind of just stuck in one place. So I might just make a series of videos talking about, things like this or other nerdy shit. So, yeah, so that'll be it for this video. I'm going to post this one first, but you guys go on ahead and you go on and I can't say stay nerdy. That belongs to another YouTube channel. I got to think of a good sign off, I don't know. I might just leave it to you guys. Go ahead and post a comment down below what you think a good sign off would be. And if you guys have any other ideas for videos or any questions you want to ask, feel free to comment down below. Of course, like, share, subscribe, all that other good stuff you hear from every other YouTuber. So you guys go on and you guys have a good day.